Sobek, the mighty crocodile god, was revered in ancient Egypt as the lord of the waters and protector of fertility. His image was often associated with the strength and vitality of the Nile River. On the banks of the majestic Nile River, Sobek was born. His origin, like that of many gods, is somewhat mysterious. Sobek was said to be the son of Nut, the sky goddess, and Ra, the powerful sun god. But his birth was not common. He hatched from a crocodile egg, representing life and fertility. His inherited destiny was to be the guardian and protector of mankind. The ancient Egyptians, when looking at the crocodiles on the banks of the Nile, called them imposing and fearsome creatures. But Sobek was different. His appearance combined the human and the reptilian, with a crocodile head on a muscular body. Sobek displayed extraordinary strength. With his powerful jaws, he could snap logs like twigs. His long and muscular tail created waves that reached the farthest shores. Sobek was more than a god. He was the guardian of the Nile, the river that gave life to Egypt. His roar was the thunder that heralded the floods, and his appearance was a blessing to the farmers who depended on its waters. The Egyptians saw him as a powerful and protective being, capable of conjuring the forces of nature and ensuring the fertility of the land. Sobek was said to be the Lord of the Waters, and his sweat gave rise to the majestic Nile River. Every drop that fell from his scaly skin nourished the earth, allowing crops to flourish and life to thrive. Also, Sobek was considered the Lord of Seamen, a title that evoked his union with fertility and life. The ancient Egyptians believed that his sweat gave rise to the Nile River, the source of sustenance and prosperity. Farmers paid homage to him, praying for good harvests and abundance. But Sobek was not only a benevolent creator. He was also an unpredictable god, capable of unleashing devastating floods. The same life-giving waters could become a raging torrent that swept everything in its path. In time, his influence extended beyond the banks of the Nile. The pharaohs, realizing his power, began to invoke him for protection and strength. In the city of Shedit, later known as Crocodilopolis by the Greeks, a majestic temple was built in his honor. The priests of Sobek took care of sacred crocodiles in the temples, considering them living incarnations of the gods. These reptiles were adorned with jewels and fed with the best offerings, thus demonstrating the great importance of Sobek in the daily and spiritual life of the Egyptians. Sobek was not only for his fierce appearance and strength, but also for his ability to control the waters of the Nile, important for the prosperity and survival of the Egyptian people. People believed that by honoring him, they would ensure good harvests and protection from the dangers of the river. Over time, devotion to Sobek became even greater, and his cult spread to other regions, consolidating him as an essential deity in the Egyptian pantheon. At festivals dedicated to Sobek, processions carried figures of the god, and priests offered prayers and sacrifices, ensuring that the bond between the crocodile god and his people remained strong and benevolent. Therefore, Sobek assumed his role as guardian of the waters of the Nile. His watchful eye followed the annual floods, fundamental to life and agriculture in ancient Egypt. With his tremendous strength, he kept at bay the forces of chaos that threatened to overflow the river and destroy crops. Fishermen and sailors, before entering the waters, offered prayers to him for protection. They knew that unknown dangers lurked beneath the surface and trusted Sobek to keep them safe. Likewise, in times of greatest need, Sobek became a powerful ally of the pharaohs. Ancient scriptures relate how the crocodile god lent his strength and ferocity to the rulers in times of war, helping them defend the lands of Egypt against foreign invaders. It was said that when the pharaoh invoked Sobek before a battle, the atmosphere changed to an intense energy. Egyptian soldiers felt the crocodile god's courage flowing through their veins, making them bolder and more resilient in combat. On one memorable occasion, during an invasion from the east, the pharaoh on duty addressed his prayers to Sobek. According to hieroglyphic records, the sky darkened and the waters of the Nile churned violently. Suddenly, a giant figure appeared from the depths. It was Sobek in all his divine glory. The crocodile god roared with such force that the invaders trembled with fear. With a flick of his mighty tail, Sobek created a gigantic wave that swept over the enemies, sending them back to their lands. The pharaoh, grateful, ordered the construction of a new temple in Sobek's honor. This demonstration of power solidified the alliance between Sobek and Egyptian royalty. Some pharaohs began to adopt epithets that associated them directly with the god, such as son of Sobek or beloved of Sobek. These titles were not mere words. The pharaohs genuinely believed that, by invoking them, they were appropriating a part of Sobek's divine power and legitimacy. In temples dedicated to Sobek, priests performed elaborate rituals to maintain the god's favor. Offerings of fish, fowl, and other foods were presented daily, accompanied by chants and prayers. Pharaohs participated in these ceremonies, reaffirming their special connection with the crocodile god. Over time, the image of Sobek became inseparable from the idea of royal protection. In the reliefs of temples and palaces, the pharaoh was depicted next to Sobek, both defending the borders of Egypt. This association reinforced the authority of the ruler and reassured the people who saw in their leader the incarnation of the protective power of the crocodile god. The relationship between Sobek and the pharaoh was reciprocal. In exchange for the protection and power Sobek granted, the pharaoh guaranteed the care of the sacred crocodiles and the expansion of the cult of Sobek. This divine earthly alliance became a fundamental pillar of Egyptian political theology, lasting through numerous dynasties. Also, in some myths, it is told that Horus, the son of Osiris and Isis, embarked on a quest to recover the dismembered parts of his father. Osiris had been murdered by his brother Set, who scattered his remains throughout Egypt. Horus was determined to restore his father and avenge his death. In his quest, Horus reached the waters of the Nile, where the currents had swept away parts of Osiris. But he faced a challenge. Dangerous crocodiles lurked in those waters. This is where Sobek comes into the picture. Sobek, with his cunning and ferocity, became an unexpected ally for Horus. Taking the form of a crocodile, Horus plunged into the river, facing the same waters that had carried Osiris away. Sobek, as the crocodile god, guided and protected him in his quest. Together, Horus and Sobek recovered the parts of Osiris. Each piece returned to Osiris's body represents the restoration of order and life. Sobek, with his protective nature and his link to the waters of the Nile, became an important ally in this mission. In Egyptian cosmology, Sobek occupied an important place, not only in the world of the living but also in the realm of the dead. Although he did not participate directly in the judgment of souls, his presence and power were manifested in other significant ways. As a deity associated with the Nile, Sobek had a special link to the journey of the dead. The ancient Egyptians believed that the path to the afterlife was a journey by water, similar to the sun's journey through the sky and the underworld. In this context, Sobek became a protector of the deceased during their journey. In the sarcophagus texts, a collection of funerary spells, Sobek is a deity who helps the deceased be reborn in the afterlife. His association with the primordial waters and creation made him a powerful ally for those seeking eternal life. And so concluded the legend of Sobek, the crocodile god, a being who became the embodiment of the force of nature and ancestral wisdom. This video has been created for the channel Myth Comics. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Egyptian mythology.